of you wondered what it would be like to be a police officer? Well, today I'm going to tell you. The reason I chose to tell you about this is because my dad's a police officer and I would also like to go to college to be a police officer. So for me it's kind of a more personal topic. And today I'll be telling you about how to start the shift as a police officer, how the middle of the shift's going to go, how the end of the shift typically will go, some benefits you get as a police officer, and some typical wages. So the first thing I'm going to be telling you about is the start of an average shift. First off, so you get out of bed, you get ready for work, you hop in your car and you head to the office. So when on your way to the office, you call ahead to the dispatch and you say like 672, which is your office number, and say 672 is 10-8, which means that you're ready and they can give you calls whenever. And then this is the equal thing to when someone goes to work and then uses a time card and like punches in with their time card. So when you get to the office, at bigger departments, they have a roll call. In a roll call, it tells you about all the different announcements that are made, like if anybody has a warrant out for them, or if there's anything like that. And it also tells you, like, if there's any certain cars that are suspicious or anything like that. I got this information from an article called A Day in the Life of a Cop by eForce. And when you get your assignments, you also get that while you're at the office. So when you're done with roll call, you get your assignments, and your assignments include what you have to accomplish that day, where you're stationed that day, and if there's any major like paper serve you have to do, like go out, find this certain person and give them like court papers. And now that you're all ready for work, we're gonna talk about what you're going to do while you're at work. So getting calls. So when there's a call that happens, if you have a computer in your car, your computer will get like a flashing notification to say that you have a call that's coming to you. And then dispatch will also page you and say, like, you have a certain call at a certain location. And then you go to the call and you take care of it however it's needed. And when there are no calls, you basically drive around and try and look for something that's happening. And when you look around, you look for like people violating things, like speeding is a common one, and like reckless driving or anything like that. Helping people is another major part of the job, and when you see someone in need, you help them. That's typically what anybody would do, but as an officer, it's part of your job. And also another part of your job is not always like busting people for violating things. A big part of your job is community service, or like just community, being in the community, helping people. And arresting someone. This doesn't happen very often or like even daily, but arresting someone, whenever you need to arrest someone, there are a lot of aspects that go along with it. So you have to physically arrest someone, like put them in cuffs and put them in your car. And then you have to transport them to jail. Like here, our jail is in Worthington, so you can't just put them in your town. You have to take them all the way to Worthington. But some places there is a jail in their town, so you just have to bring them back to like the town you're in. Otherwise, yeah. Writing a ticket. There's multiple things that go into a ticket, and all of the person's personal information, like their car description, their driver's license, everything like that has to go onto a ticket. And then you have to write like what they did wrong. Like say speeding, they were going 70 and a 55. That also has to go on a ticket. And tickets can be written for many, many things, but the major thing that they're written for is speed. And emergencies. When there's a medical emergencies, cops are mostly always on the scene. They're there for crowd control when the paramedics get there. And they're also there to talk to witnesses to see like if there's anything that was done wrong, that this person was hurt by, like if someone did it. And before the paramedics get there, the cops are normally the first ones on scene, so they help the victim before the paramedics arrive. And I got this information in an article written by Timothy Rufa on August 3rd, 2019. And now the workday is almost done. It's time to finish up. So the end of the shift. End of the shift comes paperwork. And like whenever there's an accident or anything that happens, you have to fill out a paperwork report to say what you all did, to say like why you did it, and if it was the right thing to do. And then when you're done with your shift, you radio into the dispatcher and say 10-7, which means that you're done with your shift and you are no longer able to take calls. And after all that's over, you can go home and you're done. And now we're going to be talking about some of the benefits that you have as a police officer. The police give you a very strong medical coverage. They also have paid sick time and vacation time. And if you go, after you're a cop, and if you want to go and get something, a higher education, they'll pay for it typically. You have a pension, and you have the opportunity to retire early. You have the opportunity to retire after you were on the service for 20 years, but then your pension will be reduced by 50%. And I got this information from a source, from an article called "What Does a Police Officer Do?" by Khan Academy. And now we're going to be talking about some wages. The wages of a police officer. So the average United States yearly wage is $62,760, and the wages can differ from the area that you're working in. And police officers tend to earn more money when they work in bigger cities. And the average yearly wage in California is $96,660, which is way above the United States yearly average. And the average yearly wage in Texas is $60,350, which is slightly under the wage. And my visual aid is a couple cop cars because I was talking about policing. And so now that you all know about the start of the police officer shift, what happens in the shift, how to end the shift, some benefits that you get, and the money that you could make, would any of you want to be a police officer?